Discover the possibilities. Learn a trade. Earn a living. BTVI. Proud, true.
Good evening, all. It is such a pleasure to see you all out here this evening with us. And we'd like to welcome you to this, the second in our Distinguished Alumni Speaker Series for the year 2022. My name is Alicia Thompson, and I serve as the Associate Vice President of Fund Development at the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute. I invite you to call a friend, turn on your cameras, and to participate. For your information, the chat function has been enabled, and you are free to drop your comments in as well as to chat with other persons who are in the group. Now, we look forward to an exciting series, and I now welcome Ms. Kimberlina Saunders Ahmad with the welcome for this evening.
Pleasant evening to all of you. My name is Kimberlina Saunders Ahmad, and I am the chair of the Hospitality of the BTVI Alumni Association's Nassau chapter. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the second presentation in our 2022 monthly Distinguished Alumni Speaker Series. I begin by welcoming back our very own 2005-2008 alumnus, Mr. Kevin Evans, who did so well in representing us to the Big Apple City, New York fashion. Let's give it up for him. Woo! We do look forward to hearing from him this evening. I also wish to recognize and welcome each of you, management, faculty, staff, alumni, and friends of BTVI who have signed on this evening in anticipation of another exciting session. I invite you to sit back, relax, drop your questions or comments in the chat, or email us at alumni@btvi.edu.bs with your ideas on how we may make these sessions even better. Once again, you are truly welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Kimberlina. Oh man, we didn't feel welcome before then. I know that we certainly feel welcome right now. And what I invite you to do, if you are an alumni, I would like for you to drop in the chat the year that you graduated, because we are so pleased. We are so proud of all of our alumni. And so you may feel free to drop it in the chat. So thank you very much, Kimberlina. Now, you know, we don't like to waste much time when we come into these sessions because we have a speaker whom I know everybody wants to hear from. And so without further delay, I now invite Ms. Jeddah Sayers, the Secretary of the Alumni Association, to introduce our speaker for this evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeddah Sayers, and I am the Secretary of the New Providence chapter of the Alumni Association. I am pleased and honored to introduce an alumnus for this evening's event. I speak of none other than Mr. Kevin Keith Evans. Kevin was born to Pastor Robert and Rose Evans and raised with his 5 siblings in the quaint settlement of Evansville in Nicholas-Town, Andros. He received his primary education at the Nicholas-Town Primary School and secondary education at the North Andros High School. Following his graduation from high school in 1998, Kevin left Andros to pursue tertiary level studies at the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute, BTVI, Nassau campus. Whilst at BTVI, he studied electronics, fashion and drapery manufacturing, and fashion design. In all aspects of his studies, Kevin excelled and wooed colleagues and faculty with his talents and skills. After leaving Andres, Kevin obtained employment in the hospitality industry. He continued to work in full-time employment whilst attending classes at BTVI. On graduating from the institute, he established his business, the KE Collection. When Kevin was introduced to fashion designing, his love for this craft ignited a new zeal in him. Never before had his family seen such passion and determination. Using a borrowed brother's sewing machine from one of his sisters, Kevin spent many hours in his bedroom cutting and stitching one design after another. Today, his zeal and determination are seen not only by his family, but the world. Clients and onlookers across the Caribbean and the Americas have stood in awe at his work of art. Kevin often expresses fond memories of his childhood. Growing up with his siblings was a special time in his life. The Evans household to Kevin was the place where the family gathered daily for meals and chat time. He loved Saturdays because it was an opportunity to enjoy his mom's tasty pot of chicken sauce and freshly baked bread along with a good episode of the WWF wrestling. Kevin also loves music and singing. Worship service at the local church in his community was a special treat for him on Sundays and special events, especially when he was preparing to sing a solo or participate in a drama. Kevin is a person of character and known by his family and friends to be calm, humble, and hardworking. He is also an industrious person. His family often reflects on his childhood years where he began to develop skills as a young entrepreneur. We, they said, could always count on Kevin to provide his immaculate ironing service for a low fee of $1. Being the well-dressed young man that he was and still is, he wanted his family to look good. Kevin never shied away from hard work nor helping whenever he could. He spent countless hours hours after school at the family business, stacking shelves neatly and sweeping the floor without complaining. Everything he did was done with excellence. As a husband and father, Kevin remains committed to building a family business that can make life better for himself, his wife, and 2 children. During his more than 15 years in the fashion industry, Kevin has faced many disappointments. He took them all in stride because he understood God had ordained a season for him. Today, we gather to celebrate his many accomplishments, with his most recent being his showcase at the New York Fashion Week this month. Despite his many achievements and accolades, Kevin remains grounded in the truth that his opportunities, gifts, and talents are from God. It is for this reason and more that I am honored to welcome our distinguished alumnus, Mr. Kevin Keith Evans.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Evans, take it away. Unmute your mic, Mr. Evans. You may begin.
Okay, good night. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. I feel like everyone already know me by now. Like I'm listening to that and that brought back so many memories as a child. Growing up in the island of Andros. Never thought or could imagine that I would be where I am today inside this field and still growing and still climbing to higher heights. So just want to say thank you for this opportunity for me just to share a part of my life or a portion of my story, and just to let you know where I came from, where I started, and my journey, and where I'm about to go. So I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see my table of contents for the night. Uh-huh.
Can you give me sharing privilege?
Can you give me sharing privilege as well?
One moment. You should be able to try it.
It says, it says host disabled participant sharing.
Yeah, it said that the host disabled participant sharing, screen sharing.
All right, one moment. Key?
Okay, guys. So while she is trying to get that started out, let me just say that tonight is going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. You get to hear what happened in New York Fashion Week. You're going to hear the excitement that went down in New York, the excitement that went down at Los Angeles Fashion Week a few years ago. And then you're going to hear the excitement that's about to come, because it just keeps coming. After New York, we keep getting emails and keep getting so many other opportunities. So you guys will love to hear a lot of stuff that's going on tonight. Okay, so we can get started here. If you look at the first photo that has my logo, the K collection, attitude is everything. There's a history behind that logo. That logo was designed a few years back by myself at work, and just playing around, toying around with the computer, just trying to come up with an idea for my brand. And after playing around with it for so long, I finally came up with this logo that you see here today. It's called the K Collection. I always wanted to use my original name, Kevin Evans, because I think using your original name has value to it. You know, I want everybody to know who Kevin Evans is all about and everything about me. So that has so much behind that. And attitude is everything. To me, that word attitude is just, you know, self-explanatory. You know, you hear the word attitude, it means, listen, everything that you do in this life, you know, it's all about attitude. You always hear minus takes you all over the world. That's how I feel about attitude. And that's why I use that term. Attitude is everything. So we're gonna move to my table of content tonight. We'll be talking about my beginning. Also, we'll move on to my vision, my challenges, also my work and inspiration, and my future. So you guys can see that right there. Okay, my beginning, it says, who is Kevin Evans? For the most part, I've heard basically everything about myself tonight with that magnificent introduction. Just want to add some other stuff to that. Kevin Evans is an entrepreneur. Kevin Evans is someone who mind is set to get what he wants. You know, Kevin Evans is relentless when it's come to his business, when it comes to being great. Like, I allow nothing in this life to hold me back, you know, with God guidance and everything that God placed within me that I want to use and share my ability with the world. And I often tell persons that I can do what I do for free. I can do what I can do for free because I love doing it so much. It's about the gift that he gave me. For me, it's not about the money, but it's about the gift that I can use just to leave some sort of legacy behind, so that person will be able to say, listen, I remember Kevin Evans for this. I remember Kevin Evans for that. You know, like Dr. Miles Monroe always says, you know, purpose, you know, die empty, you know, and that's how I want to die. I want to die empty. I want to share my gift. I want to share my talent with the world, with anyone who wants to, you know, just wants to learn about the fashion trade, wants to learn about how the system works, how it works. You know, it seems a lot of people see the glitz, the glamour, and, you know, they see the glory, but then they don't know my story. So this is the night that I share with you my story, who Kevin Evans is. You know, growing up in the island of Andros, you know, being in my father's closet, just trying on his clothing, trying on his suits, and, you know, getting in trouble for it. You know, he caught me a few times trying on his suits, and he run me out of his room, you know, and when he leave, you know, I come back again, try on the suits again, you know, and it used to be the same pattern over and over. And I couldn't wait for dress up day, fun day at school. You know, that was my favorite time of the year, fun day, you know, so I can get the dress up. You know, I always go into my closet, you know, press all of my clothing out one by one. And I actually lay those clothing out inside the closet. I have the shirt in one half, I have the pants in one section, I have the vest in one section, so everything was laid out so properly, and that's how I grew up as a child. Like you heard in the beginning that I was a person that always believed in being properly dressed, clothes always ironed, clothes always well put together. I've been always like the neatest person's always said inside my school, traveling from primary school up to high school. I mean, everything was about, you know, I wonder what Kevin's going to wear next. I wonder what he's going to wear to fun. I wonder what he's going to look like the first day of school. And it's always been like that all my life, you know. So Kevin Evans has always been someone who's always been passionate about what he does, always dedicated to what he does, whatever I put my mind to. I always, you know, believe in giving my best and giving my all. You know, back in Andros, like you said in the opening statement, I used to be in the store with my mom, be in the store with my dad. It was always my desire to be an entrepreneur. Always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never wanted to work for persons. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm in a 9-to-5 job today, because, you know, a 9-to-5 job is not my purpose. You know, I believe that I'm supposed to be someone that actually is making a difference in the world, a philanthropist. You know, I feel that's my calling, you know, just to make a difference, you know, and let people see, you know, that they can be anything they want, have anything that they desire, and just give their all. And so I'm just a person that always happy. You will never tell when I'm upset. You never tell when I'm upset. And when I am upset, you would never really know, honestly. You know, I try to hide it a lot, you know, keep it on the cover, but, you know, there's a lot behind this face that goes behind this face when you see me on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully you guys would, you know, understand a little bit about who I am, you know, as a person, you know, as an Androsian, came up from nothing, you know, grew up, you know, we call it the bushes, you know, running around, you know, playing with my cousins all over the playground. We call it the yard, you know, back in Andros. So that's what we do, running around bare feet, you know, running around the beach, getting in trouble. And never thought to this day that I would be a fashion designer. So moving right along to our next person. So these are just some photos that you would see. Also, you would have a picture where it says straight out of Andros. That's who I am. And I represent my island to the fullest, you know, just the way I represent BTVI. Wherever I go, I always say BTVI strong. You know, when persons ask, where did you learn how to do this craft, or where did you learn? I said BTVI. Some persons look at me and say, you got to be kidding me. They say BTVI showed you how to do all of this. I say, yes, BTVI. And, you know, I try to encourage persons to come to the school because, you know, back then persons always used to look at BTVI as just, you know, it's just a technical school. You come and learn a trade and you know, and that's the end of that. No, I told them BTVI, you know, you can learn, you can have a career, you know, and I try to encourage everybody, let's go after a career, go after your dream. Then you will also see a picture there with my family, my wife, my 2 kids, and myself, which is an old picture because my kids are huge now. Then you will see a picture there with me with my hands up in the air, always a classic comedian, always clanging around, you know, always having fun with my family. And then you will see my pictures with my mom, my dad, my biggest inspiration, my parents, you know, without them, you know, I don't know where I would have been today. My dad, who's deceased now, an entrepreneur, you know, I always know my dad to be an entrepreneur. And it's so great. It's so great when you could have parents, godly parents, you know, that who can support you and steer you in the right direction. We grew up in the church. My dad always, believed, in doing things the right way, and anytime I need any advice, I would go to, him or my mom. Back then, she would always, say, well, Kevin, well, you can do it like this, do it like that, or you can't do this. Oh no, that's not right. Then you will see another photo there with my siblings. All of those are my brothers, who I love dearly. My dad also in that photo. And and that's how our family are. The way you see us in that photo and we're together, that's my family 24/7. 24/7. We always support each other. And you need that support when it comes to having a career, and especially when you're venturing into a big career like this, which is fashion design, which is different, a different kind of animal. Fashion design is a different kind of animal. And then there you see the recent picture that we took about 2 years ago, at the award down at, that was about 2 years ago, where I got my Distinguished Alumni Award. So we're going to move on to my vision. So my vision. So if you look and you see the photo, the little video clip with this guy flying through the air with his cape on and his sunglasses on. And the story behind that, a few years back, I went to see this movie called The Matrix. And this movie, was so inspiring to me. And as soon as I watched that movie and I came out of that theater, I said, this is what I want to do with my life for the rest of my life. I want to be a fashion designer. I was so intrigued by the suits, the costumes. I always was a big fan of suits. And the following day, I got the sketch pad and started sketching, started opening my suits up, started opening up everything, I talked about expensive suits. Back then, I used to get my suits tailored, and I started ripping everything apart. I even didn't care. I just started ripping and ripping. I said, now, I could tell you one thing. I said, I can learn what they have underneath these suits tonight. I said, if it take me years, I can find out what it takes to make a good quality suit or good quality clothing. And ever since I watched that movie, it was always my inspiration. Sometime I'm behind the sewing machine and I have the movie playing, the same time, just so I can be inspired by the suits and the way they move in their suits and the way they just move around. Everything about the movie is just so great. It's like my favorite movie of all time. So that really inspired or sparked, my vision to start the KE collection. Okay, what made me decide to start the KE collection brand? Like I said, the Matrix. And then also, I just wanted to wear nice suits as well. I always wanted to wear nice suits. Now we're going to move on to my challenges. So, like I said before, my vision, we're going to move on to my challenges. If you look at that picture in the right-hand corner, you will see the recent fashion show we had 2 weeks ago, in my honor, with my family around me. It was very, very, very challenging to get to this point. Like I went through so much to get to this point who I am today. Where should I begin? I tried so many times to get persons to believe in myself, to believe in everything that I do. I went to so many businesses, business on top of businesses. If I began to talk about the mother businesses, I asked for assistance. I can actually write a book. I can create a book. So many companies that I've been to, took my portfolio, just wanted them to give me an opportunity, give me a chance, as a young person, just to give me a chance. That's what kills a lot of dream inside this country today. A lot of persons have so many dreams and persons are so talented, and funding is always an issue. Funding, trying to get to where you want to get at. I remember nights once I'm at BTVI when I'm studying at BTVI, and I remember days where I had to literally walk from BTVI onto Marshall Road. And for those of you who know where Marshall Road is, Marshall Road, that's far, and classes out at 10 o'clock, and I'm walking from the school, and sometimes I reach home at maybe 12 midnight, just walking, and inside my head, the only thing I'm saying is that, you know, purpose, you know, and I'm big on purpose, you know, like I was told person, I'm driven by purpose. I know what my purpose is, and that's what I'm driven by, you know, and so I walk those streets late at night, regardless of if someone, not knowing if someone would have just walk up on me, try to rob me, you know, but honestly, the only thing they would have got out of me is a bunch of book and papers. That's the only thing they would have got out of me, because it wouldn't have been any money, you know, so they would have been upset because they couldn't get anything else but papers and books. But, you know, it was a lot, you know, trying to sacrifice, you know, with my family, you know, sacrifice so many stuff trying to get it, you know, you got bills that are adding up, bills are piling up. And, you know, when you have to make a decision that should I pay the bills or should I get my materials for school? And I had times when I had to make that decision, listen, I'm going to get my equipments for school. And I had to neglect so many other stuff just so I can learn and get what I want to get, because I had to buy so many materials and all of these fabrics and so many other stuff. And I had to do it, you know, because I learned one thing. I've always learned that to get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. So if you want to achieve something, if you want to get somewhere, you have to do some things that you've never done. I've never done shows in New York in my life. I've never done shows in Los Angeles. I've never done shows anywhere, you know. My thing is I took the opportunity, I just run with it. You know, when I did Miami Fashion Week, my first show, actually, let's go back to my first show in 2009 was Islands of the World Fashion Week. Owen Bedell, he was the first person that gave me an opportunity really to showcase at Islands of the World Fashion Week. And then I have Yodafi Modeling Agency on the Phyllis, who actually gave me an opportunity as well to showcase at Yodafi. And when I showcased at Islands of the World Fashion Week, I was able to display, this is my first set of designs that I ever displayed at Islands of the World Fashion Week. And it was so great. Everybody was so impressed about my work. And a lot of persons were like, we heard about you. We heard about this Kevin Evans, you know, this up and coming designer. We heard that you are, you know, really good. You know, and when I started to take out a lot of the pieces, everybody was so like wow, like this is crazy. And I was like, this is my first time in any show, and afraid, scared, but I was able to overcome that fear and hit the runway. Just hit the runway. Told the guys, you know, let's go, let's do it. You know, then I had an opportunity with Yodafi Modeling Agency, where they gave me an opportunity to showcase down at the Rainforest Theater back then. I did a few shows with them, hitting the runway, and I never forget, I spoke with Phyllis, and I told her that, listen, I need an opportunity just to showcase some pieces. And she sat down, we talked, and she said, I feel you, I feel your vision, and you know what, I will give you an opportunity to showcase inside one of our shows. And when I did that, she said she never regretted it, because she was so amazed by the kind of work I've done, you know, and it was so, I mean, great. Like, it was kind of like really emotional for me. Even though it wasn't so for us back home here, the shows aren't big, you know, because we're back here. They say, oh, well, it's just a little show. But no, to me, that was like a huge show. That was like a big opportunity for me. I was able to showcase at Government House some of my pieces as well during Independence Celebration. So any opportunity I got, I seized the moment. I seized the moment of any opportunity, you know, and so that's how I am, you know, like, and don't care how small it is, you know, I'm going to take that and run with that, you know. I always learned back in school, you do small things well. So I always try to do, don't care how small it is, I try to do it to the best of my ability. And then later on, I was able to move on to Miami Fashion Week. They call it Miami Raw. And all of these just sparked me to move on to higher heights after this. And that's where I ended up at Miami Raw. And it was so inspiring, you know, when I went to Miami Raw. And the thing about it is that it's so amazing. A lot of persons look at fashion and they don't know what everything that goes into doing a show. I actually had to literally fly to Miami, take pieces of my clothing for them to view and scan before you actually be a part of that show. So I had to spend money just for a day to go to Miami just so they can look through my clothing. And when they look through my clothing, the first thing they said to me, they said, "Did you sew these clothing?" I said, "Yes, I did." They looked at me, they looked at each other. They said, "We want to tell you something." They said, "You see all of these other designers that you see inside this room here today, all of these designers," said, "none of them inside here sold their own clothing inside this room. None of them." They said, "You are the only person that's here in this show that is sewing your own clothing." And they said, "This tells us that you're cut from a different cloth. You're a different kind of animal in this business." They said that we can't believe it. They said that designers like yourself are rare. So you don't find designers like you anymore that can actually design and create a pattern, can actually cut, and can actually design. And so that inspired me, and that had me so excited. Like, I was like, wow. Like, I went back on that flight, and I was the happiest person on that flight. So I know all of the flight attendants were like, "Gee, this guy just come running onto this flight." Like, like, trying to figure out what's going on. But at that moment, I knew that God was telling me that, listen, this is your gift. This is your gift. This is what I want you to do. And I came back to that show. When I came back to that show and I showcased, I placed in that show, top 3 out of 15,000 designers. 15,000 designers, I placed top 3. And I had to go through so much because they had to go through so many designers, just checking out their designs, just to see, I'm comparing my designs with other designs, persons that actually live, eat, sleep, and drink. Be mindful now that I have to work a regular job and then I sew at night. These guys who are in this competition, they sew, I talk about they eat, sleep, and drink fashion all their life. And these guys told me that I were a different kind of animal inside the room. So that really just changed the whole landscape, everything. And after that show, that I was so hurt because I didn't want to win the show. But the thing about it is that I remember that night, I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried so much. And I stopped sewing for at least about maybe almost a month. I was at the verge of quitting after that. And, I had to pull myself together and talk to myself and say, I can't, I can't, I come too far. So I can't quit. And I had to really, really pray about that and ask God to, just allow me to forget about that and allow me to move on. And I was able to recover from that. Went on to LA Fashion Week. And when I went on to LA Fashion Week, this was in 2017, I went into LA Fashion Week. And while I was at LA Fashion Week, I was able to showcase in Los Angeles. And this is where I met a young lady who actually is a manager for a few boxers. There was a Nigerian boxer and there was a few boxers from the US. And they asked me if I ever was interested in designing boxing apparel. And so I said, I never tried it, but it's the first time for everything. So that lady took me for lunch and she sat down with me and went through some stuff. And she said, listen, I want you to give it a try and let's see where it goes from there. And come to find out, those boxing apparel was done for one of the greatest boxers of all time, Floyd Mayweather, for some fighters that he had signed under his production or his promotion. And those boxers won their first fight wearing a pair of Kevin Evans boxer. A young guy from the island of Andros who grew up in the bushes, I call it, who came from that island. And now I'm sewing boxing apparel for international boxers who actually fought in Las Vegas in my apparel. And this was like really, really, really exciting for me. And after this, I continue to push until I was able to get to where I really wanted to be, which was New York Fashion Week. And when I went over to New York, and I know everybody wants to hear about New York, when I went over to New York, It was really cold, you know, really freezing. The first time I ever saw snow, but it was exciting. And I spent the first part of my trip basically in my room sewing. So I was sewing. So you may saw one or two pieces on the runway, but I sewed those one or two pieces in that room. A lot of people don't know, in that room. I had to finish off some of those outfits. And I sat down during the night and said, listen, I can finish this. I traveled with that sewing machine with me. I said, this is going to get finished in here tonight. And I sewed and I sewed, and I was able to put my pieces together. Was inside there, you know, steaming out my stuff, put my stuff together. I had my family calling me 24/7. You know, I had my sisters on the phone praying with me. So it was just amazing. So I had like literally the whole Bahamas behind me. I felt like I had the whole Bahamas on my school on my shoulder. And that Sunday, when I went into that showcase, I started to undress my pieces one by one. The first piece I took out, we had ladies, all the makeup artists and everything were fixing hairs and all this other stuff. And when they saw the first piece, they were so blown away. They was like, what? They stopped fixing hair. They was like, what is that? And who is this guy? You know, and one of my team members was like, let me introduce you to Mr. Calvin Evans. And they was like, wow, like they couldn't even fix hair anymore. Like they were so amazed. And I started pulling out one piece after the other, one piece after the other. And the models were so like they were just going insane, you know, like they was like, wow, like they've never seen, you know, clothing like this, you know, and they do a lot of shows, you know, and so we started to get everything out, you know, we started dressing models, started putting models together. And like I said, it was so great when those guys got dressed and those guys got dressed in their clothing. And when it was time to hit that runway, and a lot of people don't understand, when it was time to hit that runway, I was in such meditation, you know, and I was like, Lord, thank you. Just thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to experience this, you know, just thank you for this opportunity. Father God, if I never thank you for anything, just thank you for just life, you know, for giving me a chance to be here and allowing people to see this gift that you give me, this creativity. And this is all that I'm saying to myself. All I'm saying to myself, just talking to myself, ministering to myself, you know. And when those guys started to line up, I started to get chills. You know, I had to contain myself. And when that Bahamian music started, I talking about the crowd went crazy. Like they were like, what kind of music is this? You know, I said, welcome to the Bahamas. And so those guys went on that runway one by one, you know, and I watched the crowd and I watched the look on the crowd faces. And when I came on that runway, after the last model came down and I went up on that runway, the experience was like, wow, like I can't believe I'm finally here. Like all my life, you know, all my life, I talked about hitting New York runway, hitting the runway. I said, and thank you, Lord, just for these opportunities. I said, even if I never come back to this city, you know, I thank you for this moment right here. And when I came back into the back room, you know, I had people just coming at me, you know, was saying, one guy came to me, a designer came to me, he told me, said that I'm a designer. And he said, I've been designing for 2 years. And he said, I've never seen nothing like what I seen on that runway just now. And I was like, thank you so much. And he was like, I have to take a picture with you. I have to, it's a must, you know. And I took a picture with a lot of persons, you know, I made a lot of connections. While I was over there, I was offered to showcase at London Fashion Week. So I'll be going to London Fashion Week in June, and which is another exciting event. I was also invited to Paris Fashion Week, the showcase at Paris Fashion Week. And like I say, my vision, a lot of people got to understand my vision, the apex of my career, that I told everybody that Sidney Poitier was the first person to achieve an Oscar, and I'll be the second person to achieve an Oscar for best costume design in a motion picture. So the apex of my career, I want to design for movies such as Tyler Perry, Hollywood, and so forth. So that's exactly where I want to be at the apex of my career. And a lot of persons said like, wow, say you have a dream. You really have a dream. I said, yes, I have a dream. God placed it inside me. And I try to encourage anybody out there who's listening right now that it's not easy. It's not easy. The road is going to get rough, you know, at times. I've experienced trials. I experienced tribulation. I've been through a lot. Like I said, the timing is everything. Timing is everything. Um, you know, and this whole time, I told a lot of persons that I had trials for the last 16 years. I said, so this whole time, everything was a process, even up to last year, you know, everything is a process, you know, enjoy the process along the way, you know, you have to enjoy the process and allow God to work, allow him to lead you and guide you. And I've learned this through my whole career, you know, when I wanted to give up, when I felt like I couldn't do it no more, when I felt like I wanted to give up, you know, God took me to Miami Fashion Week. God took me to Los Angeles Fashion Week. Then God took me to New York Fashion Week. Me, a Bahamian, you know, from that in the Fondras, you know, he's going to take me to London Fashion Week. I was invited to Paris Fashion Week, not once, but 4 times. I was invited at Paris Fashion Week, 4 times, 4 times. I'm also going to be featured in Anastasia magazine in New York, and I'm also going to be featured on the billboard in Times Square in New York. So this month of March, the Kevin Evans collection will be up on the billboard in Times Square. So BTVI strong. I always say BTVI strong, and I'm going to continue to rep my country. I'm going to continue to rep my school and make my school proud. You know, and now I have the opportunity of sharing what I have with students, being an instructor now at BTVI. So now I have an opportunity to instill what I have in persons right now, students, you know, and the kind of reception I got from those students when I first entered that classroom was unbelievable. It was crazy. And, you know, and I've only known them for a month, but I do love my students. And if they're listening, you know, I keep telling them, like, listen, you guys are going to get it, and I'm going to make sure at the end of the day that you produce the kind of work that I produce, because I want to see some of you guys on the runway in New York, the runway in Los Angeles, and I would love to, and Lord knows that I would love to be able to take persons away with me at these shows, where a person can be able to experience what I've experienced, you know, because there's, like I said, there's so many stuff that persons can learn during these shows, and the experience that we need as Bahamians, you know. Hopefully that, you know, the government would get involved and they would see what's going on in the fashion industry, you know, youth sports and culture, because, you know, it's a part of youth sport and culture. You know, we're taking our fashion to the world, you know. So so I'm hopefully that everything that I've said tonight will inspire somebody, you know, because like I said, came from nothing, you know, tried my best to make things happen, and God is working. He's definitely working. He's working. So I thank you so much for this opportunity tonight, just to share this, just, I call it an occasion, just share this occasion with me. And I will continue to allow you guys to follow me and share my experience, and I'm always open to share experience. I'm here, and that's what I'm here for. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, you can discontinue your screen sharing at this time. Okay. All right, and while he does that, listen. While Kevin was speaking, I asked you to drop in, for those who know Kevin, I asked you to drop a word. Drop a word. I asked you to drop a word, and Kevin, I could tell you it is impressive. We're waiting for your picture, Kevin.
I didn't hear, can you repeat it?
No, camera, we can't see you.
Oh,
There you are.
oh, damn.
So while you were speaking, I asked persons to drop a word in to describe you. Kevin, listen, man. Someone said the essence of resilience. focused, creative, unique, humble, patient, dedicated, kind, quiet, amazing, confident, detailed. And then someone had to get real petty and say, my brother. You know, that's just like your father, my brother, my brother. Kevin, let me tell you, we heard you say that you prayed while you were there. And Kevin, oh yes, 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 yes. I'm glad that you prayed, because I could tell you, Kevin, for some strange reason, I believe a lot of the ministers probably have a little, you know, they're looking for you, because on that Sunday, Kevin, when everybody was supposed to be in church, I could tell you, I know a particular alumni association, and I ain't calling no names, but they were supposed to be in church at that time. And I can tell you, Kevin, we were all tuned in, just waiting. And I remember someone said, you know, after they saw the first fashion designer's work come out, they said, they're not calling a name. We're not going to know when he comes out. And I said, listen, you will know when Kevin comes out. And shortly after that, we heard Kevin Evans, the K collection. And then we saw some clothing that we'd gotten a little sneak peek of. And then someone said, that's Julian Believe music. It was OVA, Kevin. So I can only imagine what was going on in the background.
Oh, yeah.
I had a question. The question is, if you could change one thing about your journey, what would that one thing be?
If I can change one thing about my journey, what would that be? I would say, for me, like, now I don't know if I would change anything, honestly, because the hardship, you need that to get to where you want to be. You need the hardship. You need that builds you, that creates the person that I am, that creates the mold. So I don't even know if I would change anything along the way. It's that I wish, okay, one thing I wish that I knew what I wanted to do sooner, because I think that's it. I never knew that I wanted to do fashion until later on in my life. And so I wish that I knew what I wanted sooner. Yeah.
All right, well, then that's fair enough. Now, was it difficult? We know some of us have heard your story, and you went and you did electronics first. And then you decided that you were going to do fashion. Was it difficult telling your family about your decision to switch?
Yeah, it was. Actually, my mom, she wanted me to, she told me, said, I actually wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be an architect. And so when I went to BTVI, they didn't offer architect. I think they did blueprinting or something like that. And so I said, well, they don't do what I want to do. And so she said, do electronics. Your brother's in electronics. You can make money. You can do this and that. So I was like, I don't know, but somehow I went in and I still, I went into electronics, and I sat in that class for 2 years and I couldn't stand electronics. 2 years. But what I did is I learned, I had a good teacher. Back then it was Mr. Josie. I had an excellent teacher back then. And it's just that I was like, this is not me, but I sat through it just so I could please my mom. And at the end of the day, it was like, I said, Mommy, I can't do this. I can't do this. This ain't me, And so I ended up inside cushion and drapery manufacturing. And so even when I got in that class and I saw the class was just full of females, I walk out of the class. I say, this class ain't for me. And the teacher was like, no, come back. Say, give it a try. And that's how I end up in cushion and drapery manufacturing. And then somehow I end up inside fashion design along the way.
Wow. And we know what happened. Kevin, I can remember the first time I walked into the fashion trades department and I saw a picture of your work on the wall. And I was sure that it was something out of a magazine. And this was 7 years ago. And I looked at the wall and I said, boy, they look good, eh? And someone said, that's Kevin Evans's work. And I was like, Kevin Evans? Who's that? And they said, that's a graduate. I was like, no, you're kidding. No, those people are from a magazine. No, not the suits that those guys are wearing. And so I was very happy when I finally met you. Kevin, I have another question for you. All of us who were there at the reception that was held in your honor, and indeed the world who were watching via live stream, we saw how emotional you became. Not only did we see that, we saw when your wife Marjanetta came and started to comfort you. And then not too long after that, all of your siblings came and they encircled you. Can you tell us, why is family support, and this is specifically for those who are listening, whose child or loved one may have decided, listen, I don't want to go this particular route. I want to go in a different direction. So please speak to them and tell them how important family support is.
Well, my family, we grew up, like I said, really close on the island. We can't leave without the other person, you know. So if we were out and one person came home, my dad said, listen, go back and get the next person, because y'all left together, so y'all coming back together. So a lot of people don't understand that family is so important. And for this career that I chose, my family always told me, actually, my first check came from my siblings when I did Miami Fashion Week. And I came and I told my brothers, I said, listen, I said, I really want to do this. This is what I want to do. And I want to go to Fashion Week in Miami. And one of my brother came, he went in the room and he came back out. And he was like, he called my other brother and he said, listen, he said, Kevin is here and he want to do this show inside Miami. He said, what you want us to do? He said, what you want us to do? He said, write the check, write the check. He said, whatever he need, just give it to him. You know, give it to him. Whatever he need, give it to him. And he wrote me a check and he said, this is for you. He said, I just want you to know your family got your back. We got your back 110%. They said, we have you, and whatever you need to do, we got you. And at that moment, I realized that, listen, there's nothing more better than having a family support. You have to support your kids, regardless of what they want to do. Do not force them into something that they don't want to do. Sometimes we want them to be doctors, we want them to be lawyers, and you know, and your child don't want to do that. Your child maybe want to be fashion designer. It's almost like you putting a mechanic in the kitchen. You can't put a mechanic in the kitchen. You can't put a cook underneath the car to change oil. You know, you got to put persons in the area they're gifted in. If that's their area and that's their area, lead them in that area. You know, just support them and put them in that area. You know, I've seen it happen to so many persons out there who wanted to do one thing, their parents forced them in something else, and then they just, you know, they just went crazy after, like, I can't do this no more. My mommy wants me to do this. My parents want me to do this, and I want to do that. So family support is, I talking about God first, and then, you know, family, and that's how I see it.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the master, who is also in the room, John Lewis. Mr. John Lewis, yeah, now you know you're saying something when you get the master coming in and listening to you. And we know how fond Mr. John Lewis is of you and the work that you've done, because he has spoken often about the level of commitment that you have exhibited in your trade. Now, Kevin, like I said, I'm Patty, and I'm holding a magazine in my hand, Up and Away magazine. And for those who don't know, Up and Away is the Bahamas in-flight magazine. And for the months of January through March 2022, Kevin Evans is being featured on pages 26, 28, and 29. And you know, that magazine goes everywhere that Bahamas Air flies. And so we are extremely, at BTVI, we're very proud of that. Kevin, how did you feel when your story hit the magazine? And how did you know your story was in that magazine on Bahamas Air?
How I found out is I had a friend, actually one of my models. He sent me some photos. They was coming to my phone just keep coming. I was like what all these photos is about? And when I saw it, I was like, I messaged him like, where these photos coming from? You know, and he said that, I don't know. He said 3 persons are sending them to my phone. And when he asked about it, they said that this is a magazine that we got, and we, you know, we see all of the stuff inside of it. And then, you know, we started asking all kinds of questions about what kind of magazine it is. And then when I saw the magazine, I said, oh, now I remember that they did an interview with me and they wanted to get some insight on what I do and stuff like that. And so, yes, I said, now I remember, you know, because I said I did an interview with them and they just wanted to find out about who Kevin Evans is and stuff like that. They heard about my brand and they heard about me. And I also want to make mention that I can't go without saying, you mentioned Mr. Lewis' name, just for a quick sec. That Mr. Lewis, listen, and I can try to, keep the tears back, but
Don't cry. Now, you know when you cry, you start makeup and stuff. Don't cry, please.
no, I can try, I'll behave tonight, but Mr. Lewis was like, I think let me put it like this. When I first came to BTVI, I wanted to do fashion. I wanted to do actually tailored suits. I came to Mr. Lewis and I showed him. I came to Mr. Wallace first. Mr. Wallace, Percy Wallace. I came to him and I showed him the suits. And he said, boy, this is beyond me. He said, I can't teach you this. He said, you need to go to Mr. Lewis next door. He said, that's the man who can get you the way you need to be. Went next door. I showed him a lot of these stuff. And he was like, oh, I see you like jackets. I see you like suits, And I told him, he said, it's a lot of work, but these are he said, this is a lot of work, but I told him I want to take up the course, but they wasn't running the course because they said they didn't have enough persons in the class to run the course. And somehow, later down, they was able to run the course, and I came to them, but they said there still isn't enough person to run the course. I went to Mr. Lewis and I said, Mr. Lewis, please, 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 I need you to show me how to sew these stuff. I need you. I tell them I'm working at this so-and-so, I can't be there. I need to get out. He said, let me help you. And I enrolled in that class. And Mr. Lewis, every night, I got off at 6 o'clock sometime. My class started at 6, and I never reached the class until about 8 o'clock, after 8. And Mr. Lewis is in the back of the class waiting on me. He's in the back of the class waiting on me. He said, well, I'm right here waiting on me. He said, get your machine together, I hear. And he waited on me. Who teacher waits on someone after an hour or even longer than that after the class has started? And I try to get into his head. I get into his head so much. He said, I can't teach you nothing else. he said, everything else now at this point, he said, you have to learn on your own. And so he gave me a book and I studied, rip open, close, study, and I rip open, and that's how I, become the way I am today. That Mr. Lewis, he really inspired me. And every time I sew certain stuff, I'm like, what would Mr. Lewis do in this situation? When I get into trouble, I said, what would he do in this situation? And I always hear his voice in my ear like, nope, take that out. That isn't correct. And so, yeah, I'm telling you.
So thank you very much. So that was a WWJL moment. What will John Lewis do?
What would he do?
Thank you so much. And so my last question for you, Kevin, is I would like for you to send a message. Send a message to that child who's in Nicholstown. Send a message to that child who's in Betsy Bay, Miguana. Send a message to that child who's in United States, San Salvador. That child in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island. That child in Orange, Cricket Island. You said that never in your wildest dream, although you may have had these aspirations as a child, never in your wildest dream did you ever really think that perhaps you would end up where you are now. Send a message to that child right now who may be thinking the same thing.
So for that child that's in far, we call it far on the family islands. If you're listening today, I too came from a family island, like I say, the Andros. The only thing they look at Androsians as or crab catchers. Oh, that's the crab catching island, catch crab, And so now when they use that term, I said, no, I said, we were more than crab catchers. I said, if you look at a lot of Androsians, there's so many Androsians that are in Nassau that's doing such great things. And I can go on and call names of persons who've been such an impact inside this country from Andros. And so I just want to say to you that, consistency, being persistent, being determined, and you're going to have a lot of persons that say negative stuff. A lot of persons going to come in and out of your lives. A lot of persons going to come. The way I look at it, I look at myself as a tree, and everyone around me are leaves on that tree. So it's a season for everything. And so after a while, those leaves, they'll fall off, But guess what? You'll be the root of that tree. You know, you be the root of that tree and you stand firm. You stand firm. Like I said, I wanted to give up many times, you know, but do not give up. You know, not because you live on an island, not because that you don't have anything, you don't have nothing. That means you can't be what you want to be, you know. Find out what you're good at. Don't care what it is. Find out what you're good at and you work at that craft, you know, and you put yourself out there. You work on that consistently, day in and day out. When you find something you love, you have to eat, sleep, and drink. You have to eat, sleep, and drink that. And that's what I did. You know, I get up 4 o'clock in the morning, I work on my craft. I get up, Mr. Lewis said that only after a while you get tired. He said, when you get old like me, you don't want to do that no more. And it's starting to wear in. But when I first started, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. You know, 12 midnight, I sewing. First thing in the morning, I sew. When I get home from work, sewing. I used to be the work. And while I do work, I'm still in my thinking of being a designer. So while I'm walking around, I'm looking at someone. Oh wow, like I wonder how you would look inside in the Kevin Evans shirt. I wonder how she would look in the Kevin Evans jacket. And I do that every day, 27. So I'm always in the mind frame of a designer mind frame. Like I don't even give my mind doesn't even go on vacation when it comes to me dealing with fashion. So just want to say, work hard, you know, be consistent at what you do, you know, love what you do, enjoy the process. You know, it took me 16 years to get to this point. 16 years, you know, after the third, fourth year, persons give up, you know, but I continue to keep pushing because like I told last night, I did an interview and I told them, said, I want it as bad as I need to breathe. When you want it that bad, you have nothing else but to succeed. You have to want it as bad as you need to breathe. And once you in that kind of mind frame, you could take on the whole world. You could take on the whole world.
Right. So thank you so much. Thank you. And I don't know whether or not your mother is on the line tonight, but I can also tell you that it was another tearjerker when we went online after the reception. And the first comment we saw was mommy saying how very proud she was of you. So Kevin Evans, thank you once again. Without further delay, I will now like to welcome Ms. Nadine Guillory.
Good evening, everyone. As Ms. Thompson stated, I am Nadine Guillory, and I'm a 2014-2018 alumna of BTVI. It did my heart well, and I think a lot of us here this evening to hear the exciting and successful journey of you, Mr. Evans. And while listening to your presentation, it reminded me of the following poem. Always follow your dreams. Don't let them fade away. If you lose sight of your goal, it will haunt you someday. Always follow your dreams as you shoot for the stars. Nothing will be out of reach if you're willing to go far. Always follow your dreams. You just have to believe. No one can ever stop you if you're willing to believe. Achieve, I apologize. Always follow your dreams, no matter how silly they may appear. When others push them away, just pull your dreams near. And that poem is by Mr. John M. Nelson. But I believe it's so impactful tonight, especially hearing your story. And Mr. Evans, we are extremely proud to call you our own of BTVI, and we thank you for following your dreams. Thank you for making time for us this evening, and thank you for making us all BTVI proud. Now, I just wanted to have a few alumni updates. Alumni purchases such as t-shirt, mugs, tumblers, lanyards, and pins are now on sale for both the New Providence and BTVI campuses. You can contact your local campus today or email us at alumni@btvi.edu.bs to make your purchases. March's joint virtual Alumni Association meeting will be held on Thursday, March 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. The theme is March Madness, and we will invite all alums to join us in the whale of a good time. Please monitor your social media for the Zoom links and mark your calendars for the second Thursday of each month. And I'll say that again. It is the second Thursday of each month. The New Providence chapter of Alumni Association will attend a church service at Grace Community Church on Sunday, March 13th at 2022 at 11 a.m. Persons wishing to worship with the group are asked to contact us via email. And I'll say the email address again, it's alumni@btvi.edu.bs, or they can contact 502-6321. We have two very active alumni chapter WhatsApp groups, and if you wish to be added to them, please contact the numbers provided, which is 502-6321, or that alumni@btvi.edu.bs. Those have been the alumni updates. So I will now turn the session back to Ms. Thompson. Thank you so much.
And thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, and so I got the name of Kevin's mom, Mommy Rosinell. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Mommy Rosinell, we are so happy. We love your son. And I tell you, we are sharing your glory as your son does so well. And so I would like to say again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Our next session will be the last Monday in next month, when we will have another exciting session. But as you leave, I would like to leave with you some scenes from the Kevin Evans collection at New York Fashion Week.
Collection.
Yeah, babe.
She got that jump, 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 jumping on. She got that jump, 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 jumping on. She got that jump, 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 jumping on. She got that jump, 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 jumping on. Damn little mama, you should come to the Bahamas. We got the rum, it's whatever you want, come and dip in the clearest waters. I wanna take you downtown. We can just play around now. Melanin no care, sun kiss get. You can make your friends. Collection. We no easy for team, we no stay like some. No, we pull up on the dance, them don't stand a chance now. Leave till the morning come. Strangers and friends link up on the ends and the music, games and fun. Me a smoke and a drink till me eyes them pink and I mix up beer and rum. Cause the gal them a wine and me a wine pon them. So walk a train start and me a join with them. Party ambassadors we sign with them. We love to celebrate and we'll a joy with friends. want the bag, and I want it fast. I be mailing them packs, gotta watch for the rats. No cap, I don't live in the past. I be making them mad, we gon' get it on Snap. Hey, pool full of liquor, I'ma dive, I'ma splash. If it's really good, I'ma dive, I'ma splash. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive, I'ma splash. If it's really good, I'ma dive, I'ma splash.
I'ma splash in it. I'm selling them shit and taking it back. I'm practicing bad business. I hit from the back. I'm making a tap. I'm making an arrow. Jiggle. Ooh, I think she like when I do that. He gon' have to fight for his boo bag. I put a make him kiss and I all night. There's a 2-pack. I whip out and fight to someone getting hit. Better open your eyes when you shoot back. She put out a condom. I only want, so I told her that I would not use that. Yeah, I'm bougie, little dive. She not used to it with money. Thought I was playing Monopoly. Reached in my pocket. She seen the blue honey. And you know how them 50s be pick. I get tired of counting. Don't give me no 20s. Play with my people, you know I ain't crying about it. I'm pulling up dumb. Tell us the truth, ain't no need to be lying about it. So quit all that front.
I want the bag, and I want it fast. I be mailing them packs, gotta watch for the rats. No cap, I don't live in the past. I be making them mad, we gon' get it on Snap. Hey, pool full of liquor, I'ma dive, I'ma splash. If it's really good, I'ma dive, I'ma splash. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive, I'ma splash. If it's really good, I'ma dive, I'ma splash. I walked up to them women, all y'all buy, then they laugh. They look at one another, damn he cute, I'll give them that. I told them I was kidding, I'm just crazy, it's a joke. But if y'all buy, let me know. You see, it's me and the baby, the best. It's like we touring in Portland, we wear the foreign, she born. I told her, get going, go, got them.
The Kevin Evans Collection.
I'm here with Kevin Evans, who just showcased his line at our Society Fashion Week. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling fine. I'm talking about the feeling is indescribable. You know, it's wonderful to be here. First time in New York, first time seeing the snow, and the runway performance was off the wall, yeah.
What was the inspiration behind this line?
The inspiration, I was thinking New York, Wall Street. That's why you saw persons with gloves on, the trench coat, and then I added a little bit of fun with some of the colors and just try to give it a lot of fun. Then we also added here, because I know persons, athletes like to jog, like to be fit. So I try to mix it with a combination of stuff, yeah.
What can we expect to see from you coming up this year?
Coming up this year, March 25th, I'm going to be in Los Angeles Fashion Week. Later on, I may also test the water of London Fashion Week as well. So this year is going to be very exciting, very exciting. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we thank you so much for being a part of our society family. Your collection was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you again very soon.
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And that video was courtesy of Mervyn Evans. So that's all, folks. Until next month, remain BTVI strong.